Hi folks, in my opinion, four things explain Trump's stunning victory. The first is that experience Trump's identity, especially the simplistic, manipulative way in which identity has been turned into a caricaturesque ideology by academics, journalists, activists, actors and social media loonies with enviable amounts of free time who use it as a nakedly political weapon. I mean that white women, Latino men, black men, 20-something-year-olds, and non-college educated guys and gals valued much more in this election their common experiences, especially the tough ones, than their ethnic or single-issue defined identities. What experiences? For example, that between 2021 and 2022, they had to spend $2,000 more on gas per year than they normally spend, and that between 2022 and 2023, they had to spend $1,000 more, or that they had to add an additional $1,200 to their budget for groceries in that same period, or that car insurance went up by 55%, or that the world around us has become mighty weird. Common experience, these and other common experiences, screwed identity as a deciding factor at the ballot box. A second reason Trump won is that he handled the abortion issue quite cleverly. By supporting the notion that the states and not the federal government should decide, he moved away from the religious fanaticism of the Christian right and tacitly sided with the many women who value their choice in those states where abortion is or will be legal, and generally those who hate the idea of a federal mandate against it. For someone who represents the conservative vote, even though Trump is not personally against a woman's right to decide, even if he conveniently hides it today, that compromise was politically astute. A third reason for his victory is just a much better candidate than his simpatica but lightweight opponent. The iconic images of this campaign, the guy raising the fist in the air to say fight, fight, fight after an assassination attempt, or serving fast food at a McDonald's joint, or climbing on a garbage truck by way of reaction to silly comments coming from the other side, or bold gestures like holding a rally in the Bronx or at the Madison Square Garden in Manhattan, that is, treading on enemy territory, speak of a guy with reflexes, audacity, and a sense of the theatrical. And remember, electoral politics is pure theater. He also demonstrated electoral campaign skills by surrounding himself with effective surrogates. Two of them former Democrats, J.D. Vance, Robert Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, and Vivek Ramaswamy, were more engaging than Kamala Harris's cheerleaders, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Hollywood stars, all of whom convey two things: the past and a country that lives with its eyes fixed on the future like no other, and elitism, the mammoth image problem the Democrats have today. The fourth reason for his triumph is that there's a lot of insecurity in the United States about this country's role on the world stage in the future. Will we continue to be the world's leading country, many ask themselves. Paradoxically, this translates into Americans wanting to fight fewer wars, get entangled in fewer external messes, and convey enough authority to prevent others from losing respect for this country, as they evidently have been, including allies such as Netanyahu, who has wiped the floor with Biden and Harris in recent weeks. When a superpower begins to suspect that it may cease to be a superpower, or that others may catch up, a crisis of confidence ensues. In the face of it, a tribal sense of self-defense and survival emerges, and in such a climate, someone like Trump, however goofy he may be at times, will have the advantage over a Kamala Harris. That said, the United States has a huge problem that no one addressed in this campaign, and that the new government will need to confront if it doesn't want to end up belly up. A government that spends too much. Fiscal deficits totaling 6% of GDP have become the norm, that keeps piling up the debt. Today's national debt is the equivalent of 120% of GDP, but will soon reach 150%. The U.S. is already paying almost $1 trillion in annual interest on that debt. At this rate, according to the Congressional Budget Office, it will be paying $5 trillion a year in interest within a few years. And that's if interest rates go down. And there's more ridiculously low economic productivity. For decades, productivity has been growing at just over 1% a year, despite all of the technological advances, because of low levels of real net private investment, which today represents less than 5% of the total size of the economy, far below what it was in decades when this country's economy was growing in real terms, and with it the middle class, who have been hit damn hard by this decline and are less interested in penis and vagina ideology than making ends meet. All because of over-regulation, suffocating taxes, and a labyrinthine bureaucracy and restrictions due to the absurd goals that politicians set for themselves with each new progressive fad, preventing businesses from prospering as they could. In some ways, Trump, who may have authoritarian manners that will be held in check by this country's institutions, but is not stupid, seems to understand this, and some of his ideas are aimed at energizing economic life by freeing it from so much political interference. But in other ways, he's betting on counterproductive populist ideas. For instance, his trade protectionism, his failure to understand that the native-born workforce is shrinking and foreign workers are desperately needed, and his difficulty in understanding that it makes no sense to lower taxes without reducing spending, or his dirigist instincts like trying to force the Federal Reserve to artificially lower interest rates, as if the Fed had not been doing exactly that for far too long, criminally eroding the value of the dollar. I hope that his staff, some of whom understand this better than he does, will help him see common sense on these key matters. If not, the US decline will continue and get worse. In any case, the great lesson of this election is that the left, which once purported to support justice and social mobility, today sells nothing but contempt for the common people and wokish Frankenstein-type experiments in social and economic engineering. If it wants to govern again, it better give up many stupid ideas that have alienated it from real experience, including its condescending, top-down vision of, yes, identity.